today we're going to talk about something different. Civil War 2024. It's a movie coming out this year showing the U.S. in war with itself. It gets broken down into 5 factions: California, the Western Forces, Texas, the Florida Alliance, and the Allied States. Now, how some of it is divided up, it's really semantics. There'd probably be, it's just how the map is drawn. Not really a talking point. But could you imagine the U.S. dividing itself into different territories and the economic impacts that would have? How would the currencies affect the U.S.? Like, do you keep the U.S. dollar? Will each territory start printing its own money? How would that really go about? Now, side note, it shows Hawaii and Alaska in a territory group. I can't really remember. To me, they're kind of irrelevant, especially Hawaii. No offense to Hawaii, you're your own island. Like, no one's near you. And Alaska's in the same way. You're next to Canada. I mean, I don't know how shipping would work in that instance, getting materials to them, away from them, etc., etc. But the commerce, like, how is commerce going to be affected if you got interstate travel businesses? Are you going to have borders for the states, territories? So, you're going to have, from Oklahoma to Texas, are you going to have, highway border patrol? Well, per each territory that gets mapped out. How does the military work in those states? Because, Texas has a huge amount of bases all over its state. Oklahoma does. You got California, East Coast, West Coast, Coast Guard, Space Force, Air Force, Navy, everywhere nowadays. Eat land and sea and air. Do they stay with their states? Does the National Guard actually become a militia? Which brings us to the next portion of it, as the Allied States, which I believe is what would be considered the U.S. still. The president is in the Allied States. They have the White House, stuff like that. And there's a group attacking or moving toward the White House from what it says in the trailers. And that the president has an airstrike done on one of these forces. Which is a curious statement. Because, if you destroy your own infrastructure, you destroy your own infrastructure. It's just how it is. Win or lose, you're going to destroy cities and towns. It's never good for anybody. Collateral damage, not good. Which is interesting because right now there's a weird situation in Texas that most people, if you follow the news in it, you know about it. About Texas National Guard and the federal administration, be it Border Patrol or whoever alphabet group has to get involved. How do you react to force on force, or federal against state in an actual dispute of such nature? I know the Supreme Court ruled against them, the state of Texas, in this instance, saying that the feds can remove the Constantine wire and etc., etc., that they have jurisdiction. But the implication of it is usually, how does that work? Like, it's ruled against the state, and now we're in a standoff of state versus feds in a possible use of force situation, which is a crazy concept. I don't think there has been a federal versus state entity issue of such nature to my recollection. I know there has been federal agencies against landowners and situations like that several times in the past 20, 30 years. But now, as far as I know of, this is the first federal versus state. Especially federal versus National Guard. Which is, it's a crazy concept. Like, I don't know if anybody has some intel, drop a comment. We'll bring up a discussion in the comments about it. But how does it play out? Like, the possibilities right here is going to set precedents for the future. Like, okay, who has overruling authority with their own borders? Like, how do you handle this? A state's sovereignty to operate its own, and I don't know. It's one of those speculations where I can't really speculate because there's never been a precedent for it before, in my opinion and my knowledge. But it makes you wonder, like, what is the federal government going to do against the state, and how's the state going to act? Because I know they said they could charge the soldiers in court and they'll hit them with a fine and a couple years in prison, which, no one wants to go to jail for doing their state duties. Like, no guards members are ever going to been like, you know what, I joined so I could go to prison. Yeah, that's a pass. That's a hard pass. You don't want to follow orders that you feel unjust, and I'm pretty sure they're like, yeah, I was just a part of the border mission and I got arrested. That's not bueno. But it brings you, there's similar concepts of, state on Fed force and power of jurisdictions, territories. How does it all work? I'm curious. I want to see the movie. I want to see how this Texas stuff plays out. But drop a comment. Tell me what you think. We'll see if we can have a long discussion in the comment section about this. Till next time.